So I want to address this whole DEI thing that's going on in gaming right now that's essentially ruining gaming, it's ruining TV shows, and it's damn sure ruining movies. Now, I did leave, or should I say I did create two videos on my channel breaking down the whole DEI, ESG thing, but because I'm a very tiny YouTuber and based on my retention analytics, viewer retention is like what, 2 to 3 minutes. So if you're not the type to dip out in nanoseconds of a video, I hope you win the lottery. So to understand DEI, you need to understand what ESG is. Just to kind of put it shortly, ESG is funded by very, very large and powerful companies called Vanguard, State Street, and BlackRock. There might be a few others, but those are the three companies to really pay attention to. So knowing that these are companies that have a lot of money, huge influence, so the aim of the smaller companies is to check off as many DEI boxes as they can, because the more checks, whether whatever it is that fits within that DEI system, those companies will increase their ESG score. And at the same time, with an increased ESG score, they actually get a low ESG risk analysis. So the lower your risk analysis is, the more money your company can get from like these very large companies like a State Street, BlackRock, and so on and so forth. Money that's basically passed under the table. The reason why I say this is because when you look at a gaming company like Ubisoft, right? Ubisoft, a French developer slash publisher, they've made flop after flop, costing millions and millions of dollars. If they were a normal business, Ubisoft would have been out of business. It would have been, 100%. The amount of money that they're losing on their games is staggering. The only reason why they have not gone completely out of business is because they're getting help. It's very important to understand this when you're trying to understand why video games have gone woke, because they have, but you have to understand how this is happening and why it's happening. The why is, it's an agenda being pushed. There's several things at play. You have the alphabet community, which in my opinion is just a bunch of mentally ill people. It is what it is. Then you have the woke brigade, which from what I see, they just want to gender swap and race swap everything, and they're just angry with everything that they're just angry for the sake of being angry. So when you compare those two groups, you have a very small yet vocal minority that essentially has pretty much unchecked power to affect things ranging from video games to shows and movies, which is what we're seeing in today's times. Now, these companies are essentially being incentivized by ESG, which, as I stated earlier, is being financially backed by those financial holding companies like State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock, and whomever else. So again, the more boxes you check off for your DEI initiative, the more money you're going to get. So even if a company like Ubisoft loses millions and millions of dollars on, which they have, by the way, you know, with whatever game they put out, it doesn't matter because they're not using 100% of their own money. A lot of the outside money that's being used is the money they're getting from ESG. That's basically what it is. So when you understand that, you understand just how the machine works. If they were 100% using their own money, I guarantee a company would have been made a course correction, but they're not because they don't feel like they need to do that. And they're not going to do it. That's why I don't think nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. So when you have a better understanding of that, now you can kind of move on to the next phase. So if you look at a company like Disney, for instance, a company like Disney, you know, they've basically ruined franchise after franchise, and but they keep doing it. They keep doing it because they have that extra money coming in to help recoup their costs or the loss that they incurred. So, for instance, if they make a movie that takes $100 million to make, Disney's contribution is maybe 40, maybe 60 million. The rest of that money is coming from ESG. Why? Because Disney and companies like them have a very low ESG score. This is why they're able to keep pumping out trash that essentially flops. Now, even though a movie, for instance, might make, seemingly a lot of money, but what you have to understand, even if a movie makes $50 million, if the budget, or should I say, if the cost of the movie was 60 million, it's still a fail. So even though that money is substantial to you and I, but to a company like Disney, it's not. So now when we go back to gaming, it's the same formula. These companies make, or should I say spend, so many millions and millions of dollars, but they're probably not even breaking even, and they're damn sure not making a profit. So you would think if they were going to use this as some sort of a test to try out new markets, well, it been failed, right? It been failed. There's too many examples to cite from. Too many examples of games that have basically been a financial flop for whether it's Ubisoft, EA, Sony, whatever. It has been a flop. Now, again, if it was a regular organization, a regular company, ultimately what would happen is they would have a course correction. But they're not going to change course because they're still getting the ESG money. And when they're able to continually tap into that extra funding, they're able to keep pumping out more and more agenda-based identity politic bullshit. This is why it continues to persist. Now, my channel revolves around gaming and fitness. But when I look at some of the other larger YouTubers like Dr. Disaster, Edemion, other YouTubers in the gaming space, they're constantly talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows and how woke it is and it's flops or it will flop, or what's the other one? Dragon Age, The Veilguard, for instance. That game comes out this Halloween. So they're constantly coming up with, how this game it's not gonna sell, it's not gonna perform well. And I agree with that. But they're not really tapping into the real source. They're not really explaining what is really causing it. And that's what I'm trying to do in this video. And even in the other videos that I've created that I'll link to this one here. So maybe I'll do another one of these while I'm sitting at home, because right now I'm a little bit distracted walking around and whatnot. And but I just think it's very important to understand, if you take nothing away from this video, understand that this whole DEI base BS, the whole identity politics, the alphabet community, the woke agenda, all of this is being funded through another three-letter organization called ESG. And ESG, in turn, is being funded by companies like State Street, BlackRock, and Vanguard. So definitely, do all the fancy engagement stuff, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned here for more content.